So today we have the first Beyblade news discussion of the year, and we actually have a pretty interesting one to start 2026. So let's go and start off with our January release, which is PhoenixFlare Zillion 980 Wall Wedge. So 980 is reused, which is fair. Everything else is new, and Phoenix has always had 9-sided ratchets, so fair enough. We also have the Wall Wedge bit, which I'm not overly excited about. It's just wall, both the piece and also the gears combined with the bottom part of Wedge, so you kind of lose out on some of Wedge's functionality and how it's supposed to work with a gear change here, so I'm not really a big fan of this. Like, it's okay, it's probably going to be one of the better defense bits because, you know, Wedge has a decent bottom, but it just feels a little bit awkward. Moving on to the blade, the Phoenix lock chip actually looks pretty nice. I really did not like Phoenix Rudder's gear chip design at all, and the design here I think is actually pretty good, so that's nice. Then we get to the other parts of the blade, and this is where I have some issues. First up, flare. There's like nothing of note here, it just exists. It's painted, I guess. Also, it's our second ever defense type main blade, so finally another one of those, but beyond that, it does nothing. Then there's the assist blade, Zillion, which also does nothing. I was hoping that late 2025 was a sign of things to come from CX in 2026, and while I'm sure we're going to get more interesting parts beyond this, I was hoping it'd be a bit more consistent and we wouldn't get more throwaway releases like this. This really just feels like making a CX Phoenix for the sake of saying you have a CX Phoenix. I don't really like this thing that much. The design's fine, but it's not that crazy. Again, for me, this just exists. I'm not really excited about it, but it's not horrible. So kind of underwhelming, but again, not the worst thing we have in Beyblade X. Moving on to February, we have Random Booster Volume 9. This Random Booster is weird. On one hand, I don't like it. On the other hand, I actually really like it a lot, which I'll get to later, to why I like this thing so much. But this is our first ever filler Random Booster for Beyblade X, for those unfamiliar, in Beyblade Burst. As Burst 1, we eventually started getting filler Random Boosters around February, like this, where all of the pulls were just recolors, typically based on some kind of rare recolor. And that's the case here. So basically, these are 5 rare blades. However, they are made slightly differently, so you don't ruin the value of the original, but you can still get a blade that looks pretty similar. The only way I'd really recommend getting these is if either you really like a ratchet or bit color in here a lot, or if you really wanted one of these 5 blades and you don't mind the difference and you're unbothered by that, then sure. But I feel like for collectors and competitive people, this isn't a great random booster. For collectors, you want the originals. You don't want these sort of slightly off versions. So they're not really worthwhile in that sense. Plus, they don't have the same ratchet and bit as those anyway, so again, not ideal. Now let's move on to the actual combos here, and we talk about how good these parts are for whatever other reasons. So first up here, we have our pseudo prize being CobaltDragoon 980 flat. This is pretty mid. CobaltDragoon's a solid reprint. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy about this one, so fair. 980, I wouldn't actually be that upset over this part. My problem is that we have Phoenix coming out, like not even a month before this thing comes out, and it has 980 as well. I don't think we needed 2 980 reprints right there, and the Phoenix probably makes more sense to have it, so this should not be 980 here. Flat is okay, but I just don't think we need more day 1 parts. I've been on this for a while now, so I don't like this very much. The next bay is SharkEdge 470 Elevate. Also pretty mid. People are going to be hyped about Elevate, I'm sure, though, since competitive people lose their minds every time Elevate just appears, so this thing is going to be probably like $100 in a few months or so. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but this will probably be the most expensive of the bunch here. Aside from Elevate though, 470, who really cares? It's okay, I guess, but not really good. SharkEdge doesn't really need another reprint. Plus, this is like the least rare of everything in here, because CobaltDragoon's at least based on the black version, which is a little bit harder to get. But this blue SharkEdge was the B4 store exclusive, which is like really easy to get, so I'm not sure why it's getting a reprint now. Maybe it's harder to get now, but it wasn't that bad at all when it first came out, and I don't imagine it'd be horrible now either, so this one's just kind of weird. Then there's MammothTusk 760 Spike. MammothTusk is weird because in Japan it was only released via the Rare by Get Battle version. I believe there's also a special way you get this from an event before that came out, but still it was like really hard to get that way, so the main way to get it was from the Rare by Get Battle. This getting a reprint is actually like really good, honestly, for people in Japan. I know for like US people it's not that great since you can just get it a little bit easier, but for Japan I think it's actually a pretty good reprint here, even if it's not good competitively. 760, solid reprint, and Spike, that just should not be there at all. Why are we getting a Spike reprint in the year 2026? What's up with that? The next spin here is pretty abysmal. We have HellsScythe 385 Gearball, so HellsScythe getting a reprint, not really necessary. It's the gold version though, which is from the Rare Get Battle. So I guess that's fair, but it's not overly necessary either. The bigger problem here is the part choices. What the hell is 385 Gearball? Who made that? Someone needs to be fired for that. Then we also have DranBuster 280 Quake. So DranBuster is actually a pretty solid blade to reprint here. It's the red version as well, which is probably the hardest blade here to get. So even if this is an off version of it, having a red DranBuster at all is still probably pretty nice for a lot of people. 280 is a bit weird. 280's always kind of been a weird part to get, so getting a reprint here isn't that bad, even though it's a terrible part. Although Quake is pretty inexcusable. I mean, 280 Quake is, again, a pretty horrid combo. I'm just giving this one a bit more of a pass since, you know, DranBuster is actually interesting. And this version's by far the rarest here, and 280, while it is horrible, it is sort of a weird, interesting part, because acquiring it can be a bit challenging. So overall, this random booster is absolutely just abysmal. It is horrible. Unless you just really want one of these versions, like maybe one of the ratchets or bits looks really nice, or you just want one of these blades but don't want to pay for the original version and you're fine with this, then fair enough. But again, these don't really have that great of collector's value as they're not the same as the original versions. And competitively, this is a pretty terrible random booster. Like, the only good blade in here is CobaltDragoon, and DranBuster is also pretty good, I guess. The other three are not. And for bits, I mean, you have Elevate. Aside from that, what is there? Flat, which is okay, I guess, but it's not a hard part to get anyway. And for ratchets, it's just 760. Maybe you could debate 980 as a niche use part, but 980 is coming out in the release prior to this, so why does this exist? I don't know. So, pretty terrible overall. That said though, why do I like this random booster? What is there about this that I like? There's no prize. I can skip this. I am not buying this random booster, and I'm very excited about this, because when I saw there was going to be another random booster, and it was going to be in February, I was pretty upset because I did not want to spend however much to get another prize after just getting Mummy Curse. But now, I won't have to. I could avoid this. It's a release I can just skip and not think about it. So for me, well, that's great. Something I don't have to buy. I'm actually very excited for this release because I can not care about it. Moving on from that, we also have a couple special releases that just got announced recently. This is some kind of J-League football collab. Both of them come with launchers. One of them is DranSword 160 Vortex. Uses different parts from Dran, which is actually kind of cool. First you got DranSword, 160 from DranBuster, and Vortex from DranBrave. It's in black, it does look very cool. And then we also have CobaltDragoon 960 flat, again, using different parts from kind of the motif. We got CobaltDragoon 960 from Impact Drake, and then flat from Cobalt Drake. Also looks very, very cool. But yeah, these both look very nice. I probably won't buy either one though. I don't really care to get recolors at this point like this, so I'll likely skip them, but they do look cool for people who want them. This is of course independent of like the competitive viability. I feel like things like this, why would you buy these parts to use competitively aside from just like flexing or something? I feel like these make for better collector's items, but maybe that's just me. Anyway, now it's time for the last part of the video. We had some teasers in the Korokoro, which unfortunately I cannot show. I'm not trying to deal with copyright stuff with this. But one bay was teased, and it looks to be some kind of Hell Salamander based bay. Would not have expected that of all burst motifs. Though that means that we might be getting Chosets as our sort of season of choice for bursts kind of reference team. So Valkyrie and Salamander, what else are we getting? Maybe Ragnarok at this point? Fornius? I don't know. But this bay looks really good. Again, unfortunately I can't show it, but it looks cool. It's pretty clearly based on Hell Salamander. I mean, it's like black, magenta, 5-sided, has some kind of reptile-like motif, so I'm reasonably confident it's based on Hell Salamander. Though it is right spin, interestingly. I guess X really does not want to put more left spins than they have to. Also, the blade does look kind of weird. I think this is going to be some kind of CX Plus system. Maybe it's just the way the silhouette looks, but it did not look like a regular CX bay to me. So hopefully there's something new there, but we'll see. Again, it does look very, very cool. We will find out more next month, so I will be looking forward to actually talking about all this stuff next month, because this one does have me interested. Like, I know I don't care about Phoenix this month, or the random booster, but next month I think we're gonna have some pretty good news. We also had silhouettes for 2 more bays. One of these is 2-sided. I don't know what this is gonna be. However, maybe it is the rumored DranStrike. If this really is a CX Plus system, I could definitely see a new Dran and a new Hells at some point, and maybe they will start with the Dran here. The other base, 3-sided and kind of bulky looking, I'm reasonably confident this is going to be a new Knight. So Dran and Hells might get new bays, but I think Wizard Arc will stay as is. But then we'll get a new Knight in this sort of CX Plus system. That's how they're going to maybe handle the Wizard Knight split this time. Again, this is pure speculation on my part, but that would make sense. But yeah, for next month, my money's on a Hell Salamander based bay, DranStrike, and a new Knight. We'll see if that plays out, but just from the glimpses we've seen, that is my prediction. Anyways, that's all for this month though. Aside from the teasers, I think this was a really underwhelming month for news, but the teasers are very interesting, so I will certainly be looking forward to next month to see what we actually get. Very interested in that. So not the most positive news discussion, but at least we do have some hope for the next one that I think will be very interesting. Again, looking forward to that. So anyways, that's all for this video though, so thanks for watching, and bye-bye.